And let's see. So go ahead and lie on your back. Notice how you meet the floor today. What does your relationship with the floor tell you about yourself? We can tell a lot, or we can learn a lot about ourselves from how we are in relation to others, and the floor is a great other because it's flat and it doesn't move. So just feel what kind of feedback you get from the floor. What kind of sensations, what kind of pressure, what feelings of weight. How do you notice yourself differently in relation to the floor? And also in this relationship with gravity. We spend most of our lives keeping ourselves upright and negotiating gravity, negotiating balance. And that's a pretty complex task, even though it goes on under our conscious awareness most of the time. There's a lot that goes into that. And so how do you sense yourself differently when the floor supports you in this way? Roll your head a little bit to one side. Just go one way at first. Just the tiniest little bit. And feel what that's like. Just going in one direction. Really slowly. Half that speed. Feel where that's easy. And then try in the other direction. And compare the two. Is there a reason you went one way first? Where is it smooth? Where is it bumpy? Where do you start to encounter resistance? And notice what you do when you start to encounter resistance. Do you push through it, or can you notice it and come back to the middle? Good. Just leave that. Make sure you've got your glasses off and shoes off, belts, anything that might get in your way. And just observe your breathing. Notice what your breathing is like right now. Not to change anything, but just to kind of take inventory. And then feel how your shoulder blade is resting on the floor, how it makes contact with the floor. And then notice the other shoulder blade. Does one lie flatter on the floor? Does one feel like it pokes into the floor a little bit more? Feel your hips resting on the floor. Does one hip feel heavier one hip make more contact with the floor, more surface area, or maybe clearer contact. Good. So go ahead and stand your right foot, bend your right knee, stand your right foot. And any of this lesson, if you have injuries or anything, if there's a part of the lesson that you can't do, then you just do it in your imagination, and that's fine, that is plenty. So your right knee, your right foot is standing, and just begin to push into your right foot to roll your pelvis a little bit to the left. So your right hip begins to come away from the floor. And you feel how your left hip then pushes into the floor a little bit more, becomes a little bit heavier. Just play with that, slowly, easily. Leaving your right knee towards the ceiling. So it's a movement in your hip joint. And as always, it's your responsibility to take care of yourself. To do what you can do easily, and the rest to leave it out, or modify it, or do it in your imagination. And that's a lot of what these lessons are about, too. That's a very important central theme, is the question of what does it mean to take care of oneself? What does that look like? What does that feel like? So you feel how your chest begins to roll to the right a little bit too. Maybe your right shoulder blade starts to come a little away from the floor. And what happens in your head? Is your head pulled along with that movement in any way? Does it participate at all? So maybe just allow your head to participate. You don't need to do anything intentionally, but you just allow for that. See if anything comes up. So now go ahead and bring your right elbow towards the ceiling. Just leave your pelvis for a moment. So bend your right elbow and bring it towards the ceiling. Good. And then bring your right hand, like near your right ear, towards the floor. Yep. So your right hand is by your right ear, your right shoulder. Your other right, Jeremy. Good. And then turn your palm so that it's facing the floor. And so have your palm resting on the floor with your fingers pointed towards your feet. Yep. Yeah, you'll get it. Play around with it for a moment. So your palm is on the floor and your fingers are towards your feet. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a funky little thing. And also if your wrist doesn't bend that way, you can have your hand in a fist. Good. So now begin to press into your hand to help you roll a little bit to the left. So your right shoulder lifts, your chest rolls a little bit to the left. Good. And you can combine that with pressing into your right foot and rolling your pelvis. And you give yourself space to play with that. It's not a choreography, it's an exploration. So you're just gently and easily rolling a little bit to the left. Your right shoulder blade lifts, your right hip lifts. And feel, is that a different movement if you initiate it from your foot? If you think of pressing your foot into the floor. And what about if you think of your pelvis? If you think of initiating that by rolling your pelvis. Just do a little bit. Even if all you have is the thought or the intention, that can be very powerful. And then what if you think of initiating this movement from your right hand? So just feel for that possibility of rolling to the left. Good. Great. And then leave that, bring your arm down, lengthen your leg, and just rest. Lengthen your legs. So now, if you're able to, go ahead and stand your left foot. And if your left foot is broken and you can't stand on it or put weight on in it, then maybe don't stand your left foot and just do this part in your imagination. So if your left foot is broken, maybe leave it long. And go ahead and explore what it's like to press into your left foot and roll your pelvis to the right. Good. And feel how you breathe as you do this. It doesn't have to be a big movement. It can if that's pleasurable for you. But we're interested in that possibility of movement. Where are the possibilities? Where are the yeses? And can you do the movement in a way that you can still breathe easily? And how does this movement travel through you on this side? How does your chest participate, your upper spine, upper ribs, your neck, your head? And then leave your pelvis. Go ahead and bring your left elbow towards the ceiling. And bring your hand, your palm to rest on the floor by your left ear, with your fingers facing towards your feet. And maybe play with this position a little bit. Maybe you find that your hand needs to be closer to your ear or further away, more out to the side. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more headward or a little bit more footward. But you find somewhere that you can use this arm. And then you feel what it's like to push into your hand. Lift your shoulder, roll your chest to the right. So try this. Try initiating the movement from your head. And rolling your head to the right. That's one way to do this. And now leave your head more or less quiet and initiate the movement from your hand and your arm. So your head's mostly quiet. Your head just comes along for the ride. And feel where you can soften in your chest, in your face, your jaw, your tongue. That's it, yeah. So you play with the arm and the hand and feel where you can use that. How does it work for you? But it's not a movement about rolling the head. The head might participate, but we're looking to press into the hand, to lift the shoulder, and to roll your chest to the right. Beautiful. You feel how you can combine that with pressing into your foot, rolling your pelvis. So it's like your whole left side begins to come away from the floor. And you soften your face, the expression of your face. And you just do this many times, pressing into the foot and then your hand and coming back. You rest whenever you want. Good. Leave that. Actually, go ahead and stay there. Just pause there for a moment. And then bring your right arm long overhead. So your right arm is resting on the floor, pointing upwards. And feel how, as you continue to press into your left foot and your left hand, that you can begin to turn your head and to slide your head backwards to look towards your right hand. That's it. Still just what's easy. There's nowhere to get to. It's not a performance. So you roll to the right, and you come back to neutral. And every time you come back to the floor, you pause and you rest a moment. And then you do it again. Feeling how you can really use your arm and your leg powerfully to support yourself, to roll yourself. And powerfully doesn't mean to strain. It means to feel where can you use your skeleton and the floor. How can you organize yourself in a way that you can be both strong and easy. Looking towards your right hand. Good. Let that go. Bring your arms down by your sides. Lengthen your legs. And just observe the movement of your lower abdomen. contact with the floor? Is that beginning to change at all? And then stand your right foot, bend your right knee. Bring your left arm long overhead, resting on the floor. And it can be out to the side a little bit, wherever, or the elbow can be bent a little bit, somewhere that your arm can rest on the floor and be supported. And then you bring your right elbow towards the ceiling. And stand your right hand with the palm on the floor, the fingers towards your feet. And begin to press into your right hand and your right foot to slowly roll yourself to the left. That's it. And look towards your left hand. So your head does this movement of, first of all, rolling to the left to look to the left, and then also sliding backwards a little bit to look towards your hand. And notice, is it different for you on one side than the other? Is one side easier, or do you go further? And see if you can feel this possibility of sliding your head backward under this arch made by your arm. It's not somewhere you have to get to, but see if that's a possibility for you. And again, you can adjust the placement of your right hand. And if you've got more than enough to explore already, just leave that piece and continue to explore what you're already exploring. So you do this many times, just rolling to the left and coming back. It's not a position to hold. And maybe you can even slide your head backwards under your right arm to see your right wrist. You don't have to get there, but maybe that's an interesting way to orient yourself, or a curious idea. That's it. Beautiful. And then leave that. Bring your arms down, lengthen your legs. You make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So none of these are positions to hold, they're movements to explore. You just go and come back. And everybody take a rest. Just bring your arms down by your sides, lengthen your legs. So oftentimes we wait to rest until we're tired or sore or hurt. And one of the really cool opportunities that these lessons present is to see if you can feel, when do you begin to get tired, or when do you begin to get sore or to create pain? And can you stop as soon as you notice it? Can you stop before you create a problem? And again, it's not a requirement. We all push ourselves too far now and then. And we'll recover. We're very resilient. There's not a problem with that. But that can also be a really useful skill to learn, to rest before it hurts. And to know that you don't have to do everything in these lessons. you can do 2 minutes of the lesson and just lie on the floor and listen to the rest. And you can still get a huge benefit from it. So now bring both elbows towards the ceiling and stand both hands by your ears with the palms on the floor and your fingers towards your feet, or with your hands in a fist if that's what's working for you. And stand both feet. Or if you can't stand both feet, you can leave both legs long, but do something that's symmetrical. So you're doing the same thing with both legs. And press into one hand and one foot to roll in one direction. And feel how the arm and the leg that you're pressing into stay towards the ceiling, and the other arm and leg can drop open to the side. And just go slowly, and then when you come back to the middle, you press into the other hand and foot and roll in the other direction. So you alternate, you combine these two ideas. And yeah, we'll get there. So yeah, feeling how do you go back and forth from one side to the other. So your back arches powerfully, and still you can turn your head, you can slide your head backwards to look up. And some of these movements can seem vigorous, but can you still be gentle with yourself? Can you still find a way to do it that's sustainable? Sustainable means you can do it again tomorrow. Good. And then lengthen your legs. And feel, can you press into one hand to roll to one side, come back into the middle, and feel how you can use your heels as well. So even though your feet aren't standing, can you press into one heel or both heels to help you to arch your back? That's what's easy. Feel where you can play with it. Where can you, when you start to get stuck, can you back off and feel where could you do it differently, or where can you find other possibilities? These lessons are intentionally meant to create constraints, right? It's not about doing something you already know how to do. We create these unique learning situations where you have to back up and feel where you can do it a little bit differently. Good. Leave that, bring your arms down, and rest. And if you're starting to get sore or tired or hurt, maybe you just do each movement once and that's enough, or twice. You do it in your imagination. So now, stand both feet, bend both knees, stand both feet, and slowly begin to lift your pelvis a little bit into the air. Just going slowly. You don't have to, it's not a bridge pose. There's nowhere to get to. You don't have to go all at once. Just explore what it's like to lift your pelvis gently. So maybe you start and you lift your pelvis an inch or so, and then you come back and you do it again. You feel how your spine rolls up. Easily, gently. It's not a performance. There's no competition of who's the most flexible or the strongest or the anything. And then next time your pelvis is in the air, stay there. And go ahead and bring your, go ahead and bring your right arm behind your back, like you wanted to put it in your left back pocket. So your elbows more or less long, but somewhere that it's comfortable. So your right arm is behind your back, in between you and the floor, so that your right hand is under your left buttock. And then go ahead and slowly lower your pelvis so that you're lying on your hand. So your arm is constrained in this interesting way. And you can play with that. If that's painful or uncomfortable, you can bring your arm out a little bit or up a little bit or to the right side a little bit, wherever you need it to be. And then go ahead and lengthen your left leg, so your right leg stays standing. And with your arm constrained behind you in this way, begin to press into your right foot and to roll your pelvis to the left. So you're rolling over your right hand, your right arm. Beautiful. Still just what's easy. Be gentle with your shoulders. Leave your right knee more or less towards the ceiling. That's it. And you just go and you come back. So your right knee, it stays towards the ceiling, so it lengthens away from you. It's like you want to take your right knee downward, footward, towards your toes. And you just go easily and come back. Feel where can you reduce the effort? Can you do half as much? So it's this law of physiology, I think, or physics. It's called the Weber-Fechner law, that your ability to sense a difference is proportional to how much effort you use. So if you're in a room with 100 candles lit, you only need to light one more candle for you to be able to sense a difference, to notice that change. And I think with pressure, with touch, it's a 1 in 40 change. So if you just do what's easy. So in order for you to be able to sense that you're doing something different, that something's changed, you have to use little enough force that you can sense that change. So if you're carrying a heavy box and someone sets a piece of paper on top of it, you're not going to be able to feel that difference in weight. But if you just have one piece of paper on your hand and someone sets another sheet of paper on top, you can feel that difference because it's twice the amount of weight. Good. Bring your... Oh, and then so now see what your head does. Can you let your head roll to the left so that you look to the left? And as always, you rest whenever you want to rest. And what about if you look to the right? Good. Leave that. Bring your arm gently out from behind your back. Lengthen your legs. And rest. How do your shoulder blades feel on the floor now? So one of the tricks we use in Feldenkrais is, so we're interested in our shoulders today. We're interested in how our shoulders move. So one of the tricks we use is the conventional approach would be, great, let's move the shoulders. But what we're doing here is let's fix the shoulder and move the rest of ourselves around it. And it creates a unique kind of learning opportunity because you perceive it in a different way. Your brain and your body goes about solving that problem in a different way. When you're ready, bend your knees, stand your feet. Slowly lift your pelvis so that you can bring your right arm behind you again towards your left back pocket. So what we just did, your right arm is behind you, and once you're there, you can go ahead and lower your pelvis. And this time, lengthen the right leg. So your left foot is standing. And begin to press in. So go slow here, because this is a different situation. But begin to press into your left foot to roll your pelvis to the right. Just so it's easy. Your left knee stays towards the ceiling. So your left knee lengthens towards your toes. And see if you can feel what you're actually doing. A lot of times we think we're doing one thing, and it turns out that what we're actually doing is something totally different. So Dr. Feldenkrais would say, if you know what you're doing, you can do what you want. If you can make the mistake intentionally, you can get rid of the mistake. But if you don't know what you're doing in the first place, you're stuck, you're lost. And allow your head to turn, to look to the right. Just turn your head to the right for right now. We'll go to the left in a minute. But there's a structure to the lessons for a reason. Good. And once you've seen what that's like, then try turning your head to the left. So your head is going in the opposite direction of your pelvis. Which means that asks something specific of your spine. But you do it together, so your head turns to the left as your pelvis rolls to the right, and then they both come back to the middle to face towards the ceiling. Beautiful. Let that go. Slowly bring your arm out from behind you. Lengthen your legs. Rest. And feel, can you be gentle with yourself? Can you really let yourself rest? A lot of times I think we feel like we need to shake stuff out or massage something or fix something. But can you, even if there's a little bit of discomfort, can you sit with and observe that discomfort? And what do you learn about yourself by doing that? Just observe the movement of your lower abdomen, your breathing. When you're ready, bend both knees, stand both feet. Slowly begin to lift your pelvis so that you can bring your left arm behind your back. So your left elbow is more or less straight, and your left hand is as if you wanted to put it in your right back pocket. So under your right buttock, behind your right buttock. And then you lower your pelvis. And go ahead and lengthen your right leg. So your right leg's long, your left foot is standing. And begin to press into your left foot to roll your pelvis to the right. And let your head roll to the right, so you look to the right. And feel what the timing of that is like. So it's one movement. It's not you turn your head and then you roll your pelvis, or you roll your pelvis and then you turn your head. But they're connected, right? Can you feel that connection? Can you feel how it's the same? It's one spine that runs all the way through you. So it's not that the turning of your head is an arbitrary idea. It comes with that movement. Your head is just coming along with your pelvis, with your chest, with your whole spine. And so that also asks the question of how much do you turn your head? Good. And then see what it's like to look to the left as you roll your pelvis to the right. And go slow. Go slow so that you know what you're doing. In a lot of ways, these lessons are very playful and exploratory, but there's also a very specific structure to the lesson for very specific reasons. So it's not just a free-for-all, lie on the floor, roll around and play, but the lessons are designed in this really ingenious way so that everyone, even though everyone comes to the lesson with their own history, their own experiences, their own patterns, the lesson leads everyone to the same place, to the same discovery. So leave that, gently bring your hand out from behind you, lengthen your leg, rest for a moment. Feel what your contact is like with the floor now. Where are you able to let the floor support you? Where do you feel flatter against the floor? Or maybe where do you feel more arch? Where do you come away from the floor more? Just to observe that. When you're ready, bend your knees, stand your feet. Slowly lift your pelvis to bring your, let's see, the same arm we just did, so that's the left arm. Bring your left arm behind you towards your right back pocket. And gently lower your pelvis. And then, so your pelvis is resting on your hand, and then lengthen your left leg, leave your right foot standing. And begin that exploration of rolling your pelvis to the left. So your right foot standing, your left arm is behind you. So your right foot, your other right foot is standing. Your left leg is long. And you're rolling to the left. And allow your head to turn with your pelvis, so you begin to look to the left, like you're looking where you're going. It's not an arbitrary movement of your head. Feel, can you move your head only as much as you move your pelvis? Like there's a stick or a string or something connecting your nose and your pubic bone. So they turn together. And then feel what it's like to look to the right. Pausing, breathing. Good. Leave that. Gently bring your arm out from behind you. Lengthen your legs. Feel your contact with the floor now. How do your hips rest on the floor? What's the contact of your back with the floor? How do your shoulder blades rest on the floor? Are they flatter, heavier? Do they feel bigger or wider? Are they a little bit more clear in your sensing of yourself? Gently roll your head a little bit to one side and to the other. Not to go all the way, but to feel how you initiate that movement. To feel how your head and your neck and your breathing and your whole self is organized. Good. Leave that. Just observe the movement of your lower abdomen. Where do you move when you breathe? Good. Leaving your eyes closed if you can, if that's okay for you. Slowly bend your knees and roll to one side. And stay with that same quality of movement and that same attention to your internal sensations, to yourself. Slowly roll to your side and come on up to standing. Taking your time, leaving your eyes closed if you can. Staying with yourself. Just feel yourself when standing. Feel your sense of uprightness. Feel where the back of your shoulders are, the back of your head. Feel in between your shoulder blades, the arch in your lower back, the tilt of your pelvis. Feel where your head is over in space over your pelvis, and where your pelvis is over your feet, your base of support. And just sense your breathing here in standing. Feel where your lower abdomen can be soft. You can let go of your belly. And then slowly open your eyes, let the world come in. And if it's easy for you, take a few steps around and feel how this lesson transfers into walking. And this is arguably the most important part of the lesson. So it's not like once you stand up, the lesson is over. Feel how you integrate that as you walk. The lesson's not useful if you can only do it on the floor. How do you take everything you learned on the floor and transfer it into standing and walking and moving? And that's not a conscious process. You don't have to do anything intentionally or hold yourself fixed in a certain position. But can you leave space for that learning and that integration to happen? Beautiful.